Arze Halvonom, page 74. Kinnos Chaf Aleph. This Kinnos speaks about the Asora Haruge Malchus. The next place that the Shechinah is evident, even in the world of Hester Ponim, is by Talmidei Chachamim. Es Hashem Elokecha Tiro l'Rabos Talmidei Chachamim, Mora Rabcha Kemora Shomayim. The Gemara says, Kama Tipshoi Sharinshi, people are very foolish. Kami Nikne Sefer Torah, V'lo Kami Nikne Gavar Rabba. They stand up for a Sefer Torah, but they don't stand up for a Talmud Chacham. Talmud Chacham is a living Sefer Torah. That's what it says. Divrei Torah ka'esh. Torah is like a fire. Ma'esh osaroshem. Torah makes an impression on the people who learned it. And therefore it's not just Chachma they possess. The Torah transforms them into living Sifrei Torah. Twice in the Torah it says that they believe in Moshe Rabbeinu, once by Kriyas Yamsu, by Aminu, by Shem, by Moshe Avdo, and by Matan Torah. Begam Bechoy Aminu Liolam. And the Medrash says, Kol Amamin Baro Yisrael, Kilu Mamin B'misha Omer B'hoy Ha'olam. Person who has Amunas Chachamim, has Amunah in the Rabbanu Shalom, and without Amunas Chachamim, there's no Amunah. Because the only way we know that the Rabbanu Shalom created the world is from Hisorerus. And the only way we have a kesher to Torah is from Hisorerus. And Hisorerus is handed down from Gedolah to Gedolah, from generation to generation. So if there's no Hisorerus, there's no Bria. That was Kriyas Yamsuf. And there's no Torah. That was Matan Torah. And that's why Gedolah Yisrael saw their mission to make sure that they preserve the Mesorah of Klal Yisrael. The Torah shouldn't be changed and distorted. Rav Shach, in our generation, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, that was his hallmark, to make sure that the Torah was not distorted and diluted. And the same thing with Rav Elioshev, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha. It says when the Beis HaMikdash, right before it was destroyed, the young Kohanim with the keys of the Beis HaMikdash went up to the roof of the Beis HaMikdash and said, Rabbanu Shalom, we did not merit to guard this Mikdash, and therefore we give the keys back to you. When the Russian government wanted Volozhin to introduce a few hours of secular studies, Russian language, into its curriculum, which would have distorted entirely what a yeshiva is, so that the Tziv decided to close the yeshiva rather than to change the Mesorah. The Chafetz Chaim always marveled. One would think that that would have destroyed Torah, closing Volozhin yeshiva. Better to change the Mesorah a little bit, but to keep the yeshiva open. But by closing Volozhin yeshiva, all the other yeshivas, Mir and Telz and all the other yeshivas, were able to begin because there was no Volozhin. Had they distorted Volozhin, there would have been one distorted yeshiva. But because they preserved that tradition and threw the keys back to the Rabbanu Shalom, that's what the Tziv said. We have a responsibility to be shomrim on the Mesorah. If we can't do it, then we'll give the keys back. Let the Rabbanu Shalom take care of his Torah. We don't have a mandate to change things. We have a mandate only to preserve them. On the other hand, there is an idea of Hashofet Shibionecha. Gedolah Yisrael are sensitive. Binu Shnos Dor Vador, to the differences of different generations, and adapting that Mesorah to the conditions of that specific generation. That's also important. And therefore, a person has to have Amunas Chachamim. And And the Chacham has to know when preserving the Masorah means to do exactly as was before, and when preserving the Masorah means adapting it to the conditions of the generation. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu was the only one who could put up the Mishkan. And he only put it up, and he took it down and put it up over 7 days. Because all Kedusha and Klal Yisrael depends on Torah. The Torah preserves the Kedusha of everything. There's no Mishkan, there's no Mikdash, there's nothing unless it has Kedusha SaTorah. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the one, the Gedolah Yisrael is the one who preserves what Torah is for that generation. And Binyan Na'arim Stira and Stira Zekanim Binyan, if the Gedolah looks like he's tearing down the Mishkan, you have to have a Munas Chacham, he knows what he's doing. And when people think they're building because they can change the Masorah, and they think that they're improving things, that binyan is many times destruction. Gemara says in Sanhedrin, when Rebbe Lezer became sick, so they came to visit him, his Talmidim, and they told him, Rebbe Lezer, Rabbeinu, you are Tovel Yisrael mi'agshamim, you're better than the rain, you're better than Galgul Chama, you're better than Ava Ein. These are the functions of Gedolah Yisrael and Talmidei Chachamim. They're like the Geshamim, they give intrinsic life to Klal Yisrael. They're like the sun and the moon. They give light, warmth. They're an example to be able to be Koveyas Manim, eating according to them, and they give the ability to grow, just like the sun gives photosynthesis. And they're like a father and a mother. The footnote says the difference between a teacher of secular studies and the Rebbe in Torah is the difference between a waiter and a woman who nurses her child. A waiter gives you food, but it has nothing to do with him specifically. A woman nurses a child, she nurses from her body itself. A Rebbe is like a father and a mother. He gives from himself. And a secular teacher gives his wisdom, gives something on a platter. That's all, like a wafer. So that is what Gedolim are. The Medrash that says, "V'afgam zos biyosam be'eretz oiveyem lo ma'astim v'lo ga'altim l'chalosam l'hofer brisi itam." And the Medrash says, "Lo ma'astim," I wasn't disgusted with them, b'mekazdim, because I gave them Daniel. V'lo ga'altim, b'mei parsim, I gave them Mordechai and Esther, and so on. In every generation, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave them Gedolim. And that is the kiyum of Klal Yisrael in Golos. Gedolah Yisrael. And the purpose of a Gadol is not to do it for you. Like I always quote the Meiri. The Meiri says if you have somebody sick, the Gemara says if you have somebody sick at home, you should go to a Chacham, the Yavakesh of Rachamim. Go to a Chacham and he'll daven for the sick person. The Mukhe Yosef learns Kipshuta. Go to the Chacham and he'll daven. He says that's why we say Mishabeirams on Shabbos and Shul, because usually the Rabbonim, Gedolim are there, and they'll answer Amen, and you'll be Makayim, Yelech Etzel Chacham, Yavakesh of Rachamim. But the Meiri says a different shot. The Meiri says you go to a Chacham and he'll teach you how to daven for the Cholah. He's not going to daven for you. He doesn't have any special line. Every Jew has a line to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Except some people don't know how to dial. So you need somebody to teach you how to dial. Until you learn how to dial, the poor person could drop dead. So he'll dial for you. But the purpose is not to constantly dial for you, it's to teach you how to do it yourself. That's the purpose of Gedolah Yisrael. The Kav HaYosher says, Kol HaMechabed Talmidei Chachamim Ashrei Lo v'Ashrei Chelkam V'chol HaMitzaram Oy Lohem v'Oy L'Nishmoseim. Somebody is Mechabed Talmidei Chachamim, so they are fortunate. And somebody is Mitzayer Talmidei Chachamim, and there's plenty of ways of being Mitzayer Talmidei Chachamim. Believe. Oy Lohem v'Oy L'Nishmoseim. The Gemara says, "L'chorva Yerushalayim ela shebizu ba Talmidei Chachamim." One of the gramos of the Chorban was bizui Talmidei Chachamim, and even Talmidei Chachamim have to mechabed other Talmidei Chachamim. Talmidei Rabbi Akiva lo noagu kavod zeh b'zeh. And it's in little things. Always bothers me, and many times have the opportunity to speak at an occasion, and I'm not the only speaker. There are other speakers. And personally, I feel that it is not respectable, somebody speaking together with somebody else, to walk in after the other person finishes, or to walk out before they start. If you're ready on a program to speak, either tell the people you can't come, or understand you're going to come to hear the other speaker and stay to hear the other speaker. It bothers me to no end, even when I'm not the other speaker, to see people come when the other one finishes, or to leave before the other one starts. Where's that covet? Talmud Chacham, and if Talmidei Chacham treat each other like that, why should the whole Olam walk out? You don't think it's important enough for you. Why should anybody think it's important for you to say for you either? So there's certain respect that people have to have, even Talmidei Chachamim for other Talmidei Chachamim. The Mishnah says, "Hizara migachaloson shelo tichadeh." You have to have covet for Talmidei Chachamim and want to attach yourself, but be careful. Don't get burnt by the Talmud Chacham. And a person who's mevaza Talmud Chacham is called an apikoris and ein lo chelek l'olam haba. Not only that, somebody who is mevaza his friend in front of a Talmud Chacham has a din of an apikoris and loses his chelek in olam haba. And therefore, if other people are mevaza Talmidei Chachamim and you can protest, you have to protest. You can't just sit there complacently. Famous Meiser Belezer died becherim nidui. They didn't bury him. Kept his body. His wife kept his body up in the attic. And one day she noticed a worm coming out of his ear. His body didn't decompose at all. It was the first time that a worm affected him. He came to her in a dream, and he said once he heard somebody speak badly about a Talmud Chacham, and he didn't protest. And that's why his ear was vulnerable to that worm. The Maral in Netzach Yisrael says the following: "Hu kal kavod HaTorah the kavod Talmidei Chachamim ve'ein misbonim sheheim amud ha'olam shebeschusam ha'olam kayim." People don't think that in the schus of Talmidei Chacham the world exists. How can you not be mechabed them? V'ilmolei heim ha'olam chorei. And if we live in a generation where the secular world has no kavod for Talmidei Chachamim, maybe it's our problem that we don't have proper kavod for Talmidei Chachamim. If we would have, then maybe they would follow suit. Maybe they would understand there's something. What can we expect from them if we don't have kavod for Talmidei Chachamim? And therefore, menadim al kavod HaRav, the Chazon Ish, you put somebody in chayrim if they don't have proper kavod for a Rav, for a Rebbe, shelo yisraglu zalzel the kavod Chachamim. Because if you don't do that, people get into the habit of thinking you can deal capriciously and without kavod to Talmidei Chachamim. The Chofetz Chaim says, if Har Sinai became Kodesh because the Rabbanu Shalom appeared on it, Kol Sheken a Talmud Chacham who embodies the Torah becomes Kodesh. It's a mitzvah l'dabik b'Talmidei Chachamim, and a person who's l'dabik b'Talmidei Chachamim is kedovik b'Shechinah. If you want to feel the Shechinah, part of it is to appreciate the Shechinah that exists by Rabbanim, by Talmidei Chachamim, by Rebbeim, to give them the kavod. Halavai, give them the kavod that's deserved by a regular person, but at least that. Surely the kavod that's deserving of Talmidei Chachamim. A nice Chiloni cab driver who overheard his passengers talking, and one was saying to the other, it's such a shame that the Chazon Ish is no longer here. So the guy said, what are you talking about? Chazon Ish is no longer here, Chazon Ish is still here. They figured he'd know who the Chazon Ish was altogether. So I'll tell you a story. He said, my daughter was having a difficult birth. The doctors weren't sure she was going to make it through. And somebody told me there's an old rabbi in Bnei Brak called the Chazon Ish that, maybe you should go get his bracha. So I figured it can't hurt. So I drove my cab to Bnei Brak, got out, went into the house of the Chazon Ish, told him what was wrong with my daughter. He said, go back to the hospital and Mazel Tov, the baby's born. Sure enough, I went back, and the moment he told me the baby was born, that's when the baby Taka was born. Said I had another daughter a few years later, and the same thing happened. Difficult birth, and he figured he's going to go back to the Chazon Ish. So they told him, unfortunately, the Chazon Ish was nifter a few years ago. But he's buried in the cemetery in Bnei Brak. Why don't you go to his kever? He went to the kever and he said, a few years ago I was here for my other daughter. He told me the baby's born, everything's okay. I want you to give me a bracha here too. And davened by the kever. He left, went back to the hospital, and sure enough, the time that he was davened by the kever, that's when the baby was born. She said, nobody's going to tell me the Chazon Ish is not here. Chazon Ish is still here. Right? He can help me from the kever, he can help me here, the Chazon Ish is still here. Mind you, a Maisa. There was a Rav that applied for a job in a city where they said that this city is a very special city because many Gedolah Yisrael are buried in our city. So he went for the job. I think it's a pretty prestigious community. So he saw the people there were as far from Torah as could be. They knew nothing. So he said, I don't understand. You publicized and advertised that many Gedolah Yisrael are buried in your cemetery. They must have been Rabbonim here in the city to be buried here. Who's buried here? It doesn't seem like they made too much of a mark on this community. They said, oh, great Gedolim are buried here. Rabbi Kiva Eger is buried in our cemetery. And so is the Chazon Ish, and so is the Ponevezh HaRav, and so... He said, what are you talking about? Chazon Ish is buried in Bnei Brak, and Rabbi Kiva Eger is buried somewhere in Europe. He said, no, you don't understand. He said, in communities where they learn the Tshuvas of Rabbi Kiva Eger is still alive. In the places where they learn the words of the Chazon Ish is still alive. But we're telling you, in this community, all of those people are dead and buried here. So, if you want Talmidei Chachamim to be alive, you have to appreciate not only them, appreciate their words. And the Mirza Hashem, if we appreciate Talmidei Chachamim and we see the Shechinah that comes from them, the Rabban Shalom will give us back the Iker Shechinah. All the Gedolah Yisrael will come back, the Tzniyus HaMeisim, the Dias Goel Tzedek Meir.